Welcome, bet riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report. Great to have you all with us today. We are so excited. A lot of excitement left over from the Recumbent Cycle-Con that we just attended last weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's exactly what the entire report is going to be about, wall to wall today. Nothing but talk about Cycle-Con and what we saw there. Including the racing that accompanied the trade show right next door on the track. So we're going to talk all the specifics of that. We've got a great panel lined up for you, all of whom were there, and we'll share their thoughts also on what they saw at Cycle-Con. So I'd like to just talk to you for a minute about some basics of the show. We would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you always get little notices about when we put up a video. If you look down in the lower right-hand corner, you are going to see a little red subscribe button. Please click that if you haven't done that already, and you will be able to subscribe. There's a little bell to click on. It will give you a notification every time we post a video or go live. So that will make it easy for you to know when we're doing that. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little letter I, and that stands for information. And that is going to tell you how to get, actually by clicking on it, you're going to be able to get right to our website and find out lots more information about the Laidback Bike Report. There's lots there to get, and we'll talk about what some of those specifics are a little bit later on. We have live chat going today, as we always do. I see we already have a few people on from all over the world, and we would love you to participate using that live chat. You can ask questions. If you didn't attend Cycle-Con, for instance, and you want to know specific, if somebody saw a particular item that you're interested in or some question about it, put it on the live chat. Join us. Be part of this program. It makes it so much more fun when it's interactive. So we hope you'll take advantage of the live chat. If you're on the YouTube page and you're watching there, you'll look over to the right-hand side and you'll see the live chat going. Just type right in whatever question you might have. It'll pop up. We'll take a look and answer or relay your comment. If you're on mobile, you'll have to look down towards underneath where the view screen is, and you'll see the live chat there. And if you happen to be watching on Bentrider or Facebook, you're not going to see the live chat unless you click through to the YouTube page. So look down at the bottom, you'll see a little YouTube logo, and you just click the YouTube logo, go right to the page, and you can join the live chat there. So we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. All right, so let's talk about who makes this show possible. First of all, it's Terracycle. Terracycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent, and Trailside.bike, a fine recumbent bike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida, and Velocity, builders of performance wheels and rims, handmade in the USA. Well, I mentioned a little bit earlier that we had some really interesting panelists who had all attended the show. Let me introduce those guys to you now, so you know where this information is going to be coming from. First of all, let's go to Raymond, Mississippi, where we have our media guy. It's Trey Bergoyne. Hello, Trey. There you.
Sorry, I was muted. Hello, good to be here.
Good to have you, Trey.
Bergoyne.
There we go. The Bergoyne mention. Bergoyne.
That's my fan club.
Is that your fan club there? Great. Let's go to Rochester, New York, where you're going to find the founder and editor of Bentrider and the guy who usually anchors our Laidback news desk. It's Bryan Ball.
No Bryan, news today. This is the news today.
The news is all about, the news is all about what the show is today from Cycle-Con. Bryan also is a special award winner at that show. Maybe some of you have already seen the video that we posted. Bryan won the Recumbent Industry Award, which you have that with you? Oh.
I'm just going to do the whole show like this.
Right. So when we see you, there it'll be. Anyways, congratulations, Bryan. It was announced on the show.
It was really cool. It was cool, and it was a nice little reception thing and stuff. I was very, very honored with that. It was very cool.
It was great to be there and see you get that, well deserved. So we're happy that you had that award. And let's move along now to Alfred Station, New York, where you're going to find Peter Stull, the bicycle man. Peter, right? A silent Peter Stull. This is something you'll not see very often.
These are the talkies.
Oh, these are the talkies. I'm sorry. I will click on that button again. There it is. Right
It's
there.
fine. It's good to have you, Peter. Good to have you. All right. Let's move along to Dallas, Texas. He's about to pull off some very serious wizardry in the Velomobile world. We're going to talk about that very soon. It's Doug Davis. Hi, Doug.
Say that 3 times fast, Gary.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to do that. I'm having trouble with the one time so far. Doug's going to have a big announcement to share with you all very shortly here, but we're glad to have him, and he's helping out on the directing today. So good to have you, Doug.
You bet.
All right. And lastly, down in Spring Hill, Florida, he put the Schlitter in Schlitter bikes, of course. It's John Schlitter. Hi, John.
Hi, guys.
It's great to have you with us today. All right. Now let's go back to what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show, and that is Recumbent Cycle-Con 2018. As I mentioned earlier, we were all in Nashville, Tennessee at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and it was just so much fun to see all of the various booths, see all of the new products, and there were many of them this year to view. And it was also really fun to get a chance to meet so many of our viewers that were there talking about the show and how much they enjoyed being at the event as well. So thank you to all the people that came to our booth and that came up to me and said hi. We really appreciate that, and we do this all for you. So I hope we'll see more of you next time around. All right. To start off, I think we want to get an idea about what each of our panelists thought was maybe the most jaw-dropping thing or two or even three that they saw at the show. And then we're going to go through the various booths and talk more in depth about these things. But I think I'll start out myself. First of all, at Falco E-Motors, Rakesh has been around for a little while making the E-Assist motors. But this time he actually showed us a new way of using the motors, and it was a trainer system. So he could take, say, a trike that had the Falco E-Assist on it, put it on a set of rollers, and use it with like Zwift, where he could make it into a trainer, and it would add resistance to a trainer that, or to a set of rollers that didn't even have the resistance to it. So as you were watching yourself go uphill, it would add resistance, go downhill, lessen the resistance, and keep track of all the interesting stats that were involved with that. Anyways, I thought it was an interesting implementation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Secondly, Outrider Trikes. It was the first time that they had shown up at Cycle-Con. And although I think they've been around for some while, this trike has a massive battery. You're going to see a few pictures of what we're talking about here. And it actually is almost a car replacement type of setup where you could go the speed of traffic. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I thought that was pretty amazing. And thirdly, Doug Davis, our own Doug Davis, made an amazing announcement about velomobiles. We're going to get back to that in just a minute when we start showing the pictures. I'm going to have Doug talk to you guys about what that's about. So that's mine. Let's, Brian, can we go to Brian and let's tell us about what you thought was amazing.
Sure. I mean, the nature of my business, I kind of focus more on the stuff that I know my readers are going to be interested in. Of course, number one was the Bacchetta trike. It's been a long time coming. They're finally making a trike of their own, and it was really cool. Partnered up with Carbon Trikes. Beautifully made right out the gate. Not surprising. They're making them in the same factory as the Bacchetta Aero, which is a very well-made bike. That was obviously extremely popular on the test track. Super sexy thing. Second up, I would say probably the Catrike Eola, their new budget trike. Couple little surprises from that. First of all, I was surprised that it kind of just looks like one of their older models with some updated parts, but it handled really, really well, and everyone I knew who rode it was blown away by how well it handled. It has a through axle in the back, So it's very modern drivetrain. Really fun trike. Really enjoyed that. And thirdly, the one that struck for me was, which I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, was the Greenspeed X7. They're bringing back the X series, the 1616 little sporty trikes, and it's got their a lot of their modern touches, the adjustable seat height, all that stuff. It folds and all that. Just beautiful handling, fun little trike, and I'm very eager to get one. I think there's one on the way to me now, and I'm really excited to get my hands on that. I had one of the old X series trikes, and that really surprised me. I really like that. I like it better than the Arrow, which I know is probably sacrilege to some people, but I kind of do. So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
you know what? All right, we'll get some shots. We have some pictures of all this stuff, so we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Thank you, Brian. Let's, Doug, can you put yourself up and tell us a little bit about what you found to be the 3 most interesting things?
So I tend to kind of split the middle so far. The Rakesh's roller motor system is fantastic. I can see just a number of uses for it. I actually got to play with it a little bit in between, other visits of things that are going on there, and it's pretty smooth. I mean, I ride a high dollar tax Neo when I have to ride indoors, which is probably the Cadillac of those things, and it's not bad in comparison. I mean, it really isn't. The carbon trike, the Bacchetta carbon trike was fun. Now I've owned the Swedish carbon trike since almost the first one they came out with. I think I was one of their very first customers for that trike, and there were a lot of little idiosyncrasies for it, and it was really interesting to see the merge between the Bacchetta thought process and the carbon trike thought process, because almost everything I had written Lars about and complained about my trike is fixed. And the driveline is much nicer. It's cleaner. There's the whole number of idlers, where the idlers are positioned and all that stuff are much nicer. It feels good. It accelerates the same. It's got the CA2 kind of beam in it now instead of the carbon trike beam, which means it's not going to rotate. It's not going to have some of the issues mine had. So that's really nice. And then I also like the I have to agree with Brian, the Catrike's new model. That was a surprise. That handled much more than I thought. I mean, the little trikes are almost always tippy with somebody my size and power, but that one it was shockingly well made and handled very well. So.
Okay, very good. Let's go to Trey. Trey, you have got yourself on the screen there if we can.
Hello. So I like the TerraTrikes, their baggage system. They mentioned it's like the adventure cycling is getting real popular these days, and we see that a lot. We're actually Warm Showers host on the Natchez Trace, so we get a lot of people that come through with their luggage and their bikes, and I hear all the struggles they have to do to try to piece a system together that will work. And I like the fact that they had mounts and all the luggage made together so that you could go one-stop shop. You could buy the trike and you could buy everything that would fit it. I really like that. That makes it a lot easier. The other thing I liked was Terracycles. A little bit of a selfish thing here in that I love their wind wrap fairings. Here in Mississippi, it doesn't get that cold, but cold enough. So we love their fairings, but my gripe has been their old mounts had two mounts where you had to balance them and get them to fit. I like the new mount. It's one piece. There's 2 screws that holds the bracket on, so you can take it on and off real easy, which makes it really easy to transport. That was my biggest gripe with the previous version. And then the third thing was Lightning's new belt drive. I've wondered why we haven't gone to, or someone hasn't tried the belt drive option. That opens up a lot of low maintenance tasks. You don't have to worry about grease. The belts really don't stretch. I think it'd be really cool, especially off road and stuff like that. So those were my 3.
Very good. All right, let's go on to Peter. Can we have Peter up on the screen? Peter, we'd unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear what your thoughts were. You need to, yeah, there you go.
Hey, there you go. Well, I would say the first thing was for me was velomobiles. Right next door to our booth was velomobiles, and I had a visitor at my booth, and I I got him up there. He thought that was really slick. And so yeah, Velomobiles are really cool. I've always thought they were a cool product, and I'm looking forward to them going more mainstream. And I think a Velomobile with a good electric kit is going to be wonderful. It's going to overcome their hill climbing disadvantage, and it's going to improve their downhill braking by regenerating. And I thought that was really cool. I also thought the Lightning P38 belt drive was really cool. I think that the chains and derailleurs are antiquated and should be gone, but the replacement's not quite here yet. But the Lightning has two belts and a roll-off hub, so that's pretty cool. And I spent most of my time in the Avenue Trike booth, so I'll have to mention that. But the the Super Pedestrian next door to the Avenue booth was pretty cool too. We've been selling their products, and we haven't had a problem yet. They're a neat product.
Good choices all.
Lacking a little in the range, but other than that, yep.
All right, thank you, Peter. And let's go to John. John, you want to unmute yourself and give us your thoughts on what you thought was interesting at the show?
Yeah, it was fun to get back up there. I had missed last year, and with the show being this close to me, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go up and do it. Unfortunately, being gone a year from it and coming back, I spent more time visiting with other dealers that I hadn't seen for a few years, and then talking to vendors. But items that did jump out to me was, of course, the new Bacchettas. Carbon trike was very beautiful. I had seen that already. I've had a little inside track since I'm a dealer for them, and go down there about once a week, pick up product. The other thing was, of course, the Catrike Eola was very cool. And then in the two-wheel world, I'll have to focus on Rob Gentry, RBR. He had the Performer booth with his Metabike, and he's done some changes to the Metabike quite a bit, and I think he's really got a nice product there. And then he had a new bike sitting in there called the Raptor, which he wasn't able to get put together in time for the show. And I almost thought about cannibalizing one of the bikes I had with me to help him to get it together, but we didn't do that. So, but he's got some exciting things going on. And then other than that, it was just a blast to get around and visit with everyone.
Yeah, and you were a busy guy, John, because you not only were at the show there, you also did some racing. We're going to talk about a little bit later too. So, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. And Larry, you want to unmute yourself there, and then we're asking about the three things that you might have found that were the most interesting at the show. And there we go.
I guess
Larry.
I'm live now. Okay.
Yeah. What did you find? What were the three most interesting things? Just a short snippet. We'll get back to details later with you.
Okay. I heard that several have already liked the Catrike Eolas or Eola, whatever. I'm trying not to say Ebola. So I was another one who really liked it. And let's see, what was the other one? I have to say it there. The Ice VTX. I would have to jump back and forth between an old one and a new one, but all I know is that the new one really felt good when I took it out. And the same goes for a couple of the Greenspeeds. So I'm gonna have to merge them together. The GT20 and what is the X7? Both those are. So it's really 3.5. You want to count that. So we can go into more detail later. But those are my on my top hit list. There are other trikes and stuff and bikes that I thought were really good, but it was almost like I expected them to be really good, so I wasn't surprised. These were more of the pleasantly surprised and really liked them sort of thing. So,
all right. Anyway, as we go through the booth, yeah, we'll come back to you and we can share more detailed thoughts. So, thank you, Larry. All right, we're going to go with the slides here in a second and start going through it, but I did want to acknowledge on the live chat some of the folks that are joining us. Log notching, you know what? That's Ed Miller, and he had a booth there. We're going to show a few of those things, Ed. It's good to see you. Philip Rowney is here. Derek Pyrie from South Africa. Nice to see you there, Derek. Julie and Mark Lovegrove from the UK. Glad you're with us. So my buddy George Mills, right around the corner here. Hi, George. Gabriel Payan is here. Richard Myers, the venerable Richard Myers is here with us. It's good to have you with us, Richard. Lost Jr. is here. Andrew Angle. Jay Singer is with us, and Ryan 228. I think that's about it. That's Joseph Janning, of course, from Germany. So we're good. We're really glad to see you too, Joseph, joining us. So, all right, folks, let's start that slideshow if we could. Doug, hit them, and we're going to start talking about what we saw. So yes, the Recumbent Cycle-Con was last weekend. And next slide, we're going to talk about both what we saw at the event and what we saw next door, which was the first year of Recumbent Racing, HPV Racing, and it was really interesting to see. There were some real bumps in the road, literal and figuratively, as far as getting this off the ground. But I think generally those that raced had a pretty good time, and I think everyone was pretty interested in seeing this continue. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Next slide. So that's Chuck Coyne. He's the guy that owns this show and got everything rolling. So we appreciate Chuck putting on the show year after year, and we love going there. We're going to talk all about it right now. Next. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Laidback Bike Report booth. It was the biggest extravaganza that we put together yet. We had a couple of, besides our own table, talking about the show, which we like to talk to everyone about, let them know for those that haven't watched. We also had a couple of guests. First off, we had, we have Randy Ridings with his Quadyak, and those that watched the show earlier this year, you saw Randy talking about his trip in the amphibious Quadyak that he took. His goal is to go all the way across the country. He, in fact, made it over halfway this summer, both on the road and on rivers and streams. So this is an amazing guy. Lots of people talking to him the whole time. Really, really fun.
And that was a shockingly large vehicle.
A shockingly large and heavy vehicle. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah,
pedaling that thing
help move it around with him, man. That was impressive.
Yeah. I knew it was big from the pictures, but I saw it in person. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, he took up a third of the booth with that thing. It was very impressive. All right, let's go on to the next slide. On the other side, taking up just slightly more room, was our pal Doug Davis that's with us today. And as you see, for him, it's all about velomobiles. And I think maybe at this time, I think I'm going to turn it over to Doug for just a minute or two. Doug made an important announcement about the velomobiles that his huge collection. You guys seen him on the show before. Doug, why don't you tell us about what you have planned?
Well,
put yourself on first. Make sure you're on there.
Well, okay, I can put myself on.
They can see it.
There you go. See, I got the same picture.
Yes, there you go.
It's almost like I was there. I guess the best way to say this, according to my friends at least, is I've completely and totally lost my mind and decided to go into the bicycle business, importing velomobiles. So worked out the logistics on how to get them in here, how to get all this stuff through clearance and all that, which everybody who's bought one of these, including myself, has expressed a considerable frustration with the process. It's hard. Your bike disappears for days on end. You don't know what's going on with it. You send money to somebody over in Europe that you can barely email with, and and then you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you get on Facebook and complain that you're waiting. And so I decided that it was time. There's enough interest in it. Certainly with the Trans Am being what it was, some of the other races we've done recently, there's been a growing interest. So I decided to go ahead and bite the bullet, open up a shop, set them up for test riding, and try to bring them in to get more of them out here in the United States. So there you go.
All right. Did you tell us what the name of the adventure is going to be?
I didn't. It's bicycle-evolution.com.
All right. And then how can people follow this so they know when it opens and all the details?
So we'll open it January 1st of next year. So we're doing exactly everything that anybody in the bicycle business tells you not to do, which is open in the slow season. But velomobiles are all weather, and down here in Texas where we're at, we have about 330 some odd riding days a year. So we'll be having test rides right in the middle of the winter, and people will be happy and smiling on them because they're not that cold in the winter. You don't have to deal with the cold air on you.
And people were happy.
I'll be down there to try some out myself.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make a trip too, guys. So, people were happy and smiling, Doug, when they were down there. You offered those for everyone to try. I've got a comment here, actually, from Andrew Angle. I'm impressed by the generosity of Doug Davis, allowing so many people, myself included, take his Velomobiles out for a ride. Got to put a new check mark in my bucket list. So yeah, I think you might have added a few additions to many people's bucket lists on that. So
yeah, I've always said to let people ride your bikes, because if you don't let them ride it, they'll never know the experience and how much fun they are.
Absolutely true. All right, guys, let's Doug, can we go back to the slideshow if we can, and let's start moving along here. Next one. Go ahead.
I didn't send you guys one of my booths, but I just. Oh, do you have one? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we'll get to it. Don't worry.
I'll wait then. I'm jumping the gun.
And so there's everybody as we were getting ready to open up. So it was quite a booth, and we enjoyed seeing everybody there. So all right, let's next slide. And you can see Randy talking to one of the many people that stopped by to talk about the Quadyak. Next. And Doug doing his thing. Go ahead. And there's my wife, Marilyn.
There's the boss.
Candy. Yeah. For if we couldn't get people any other way, we put some sweets out there. So we also gave away a number of prizes during the show, including some of our Laidback Bike Report hats. And we have a couple pictures of winners that seem to be pretty happy about that. And a flag we gave away, one of the purple sky flags from Terracycle. Yep. Next. And yeah, just a sampling of all the people that were stopping in to look at all the Velomobiles. And a little powwow between a few of us working on some items for future. And there you have my buddy Trey doing what he did most of the time there and handling all the videography. And just as a reminder, folks, we will have, we shot 4 or 5 hours of video that I'm editing now down to probably a couple hours as usual, and that'll be out in a week or two. You'll see that with all the interviews as well. And lots of interesting people just showing up, dealers and people riding the bikes and trikes. There's an old man with a recumbent trike somewhere. There's Copenhagen Wheel, a gentleman riding by. And we'll see a few other dealers. There's Rolf from the Hostel Shop. And this gentleman I just thought was the best dressed trike rider that I saw the whole weekend.
He shall now be known as Dapper Dan.
and he spoke exactly like he dresses.
Oh, is that right? You talked to him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was right out of Central Casting. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Please. Oh, that's what he asked.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, these guys came apparently from a different planet altogether, but I think Outrider was handing out those helmets, I guess, unless those guys brought them. But
they had helmets. They required you to wear helmets because how fast they go.
Those were serious helmets there. I thought it was interesting. Next. And there's my pal Debbie. She's someone lives right around here. We ride trikes all the time. She was there with some friends checking out the rides. Next. And just people of all ages, as you can see. Very, very busy, well-attended show this year, by the way. And Raina and Lisa, they're riding a tandem, side-by-side, sociable of some sort. Sun trikes, I think, huh? And there's a fat trike from Ice, that nice young lady that I think won one of our hats as well. And there's a gentleman riding one of the Velomobiles. That's Milan?
Mulsanne.
Mulsanne. Sorry. Yep.
And
there's Brian having a powwow with some of the Bacchetta guys and John there. And there's a shot of Brian getting his award from Chuck. And next one. There you go. So I don't know that you had finished setting up when
no, this was mid.
But tell us about your booth there, Brian.
This was the initial setup. We had a really great response this time. I just want to thank everybody for, like you said, it was a very well attended show. Last year's was down a little bit, and we were a bit worried about how many T-shirts do we buy for this year and that kind of stuff. And we went back and forth quite a bit, but we sold out of almost everything. Those cool tie-dye shirts you see in that picture, yeah, they're all gone now. Sorry.
Who made those?
Well,
What are
my
those?
wife made those her very self. We just got the white T-shirts with the black logo, and she spent the weekend before making those. And I still haven't found anything stained in the house, so she did a very good job. But they look awesome. We sold out of those. We still have some of the blue one that I have on. I don't know if she's put them up on the store yet, but we have very few of those. Everybody bought a lot of stuff, came by, said a lot of really nice things, and it was really cool. Every time they move the show, you get to meet some more new people that didn't come to the other locations, and that's always nice. So first year in the new locations are always really nice, and it was great. And thank Lori for doing everything. She puts the whole booth together and does all that. She made those little photo displays there in the back and stuff. So it was very good show for us, both just meeting people and financially it went good too. We sold out of almost everything we brought with us. So that was pretty cool.
That's great, Brian. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. And there's a little story involved with this. Doug, if you can get the slide for us.
I'm working on it.
There you go. All right. So we had not too far down from our booth, Recycle Recumbents was there. And AD, as many of you know, had recent hip surgery and was not able to attend. That kind of came on him quickly, I think, and wasn't able to attend. So a few friends also set up the booth for him, so at least the story could be seen. And we missed AD, so hopefully we'll see him again next year, and we wish him well, hopefully a quick recovery. Next slide. And the Bacchetta booth. Well, there's just a ton of things to talk about in the Bacchetta booth. Let's get to the next slide, and then I'm going to ask you guys to chime in. We're going to talk about this. In fact, Brian, can I just turn that over to you for starters? And you might want to talk about and John, I guess maybe if you like, talk a little bit about the Pelso.
Yeah, sure. And also, I keep forgetting to remind you guys, as soon as this show was over, my live coverage, or my full coverage of the show is going up on Bentrider. So if you want to see all this stuff in text form, if you miss some of the stuff that we've said, you can go there and find all that. And I have some pictures and stuff. I'm sure I missed a few things, but there's quite a bit on there. But the Pelso, John is probably a bit more qualified to talk about this than I am. I think he was a lot more involved in the development of this, but it's an overseas made bike. Bacchetta is distributing it. I can say the number one question I get about it is people ask if it's replacing the Carbon Arrow. It isn't. It's just another thing they're adding on. But pretty cool bike, $4,800 as you see it configured there with the Bacchetta bars and those components. I think it was $1,700 for a frame kit. Pretty nice bike. It's not nearly as stiff and racy as like the Carbon Arrow or a Carbon or something is. It seemed a little softer and flexier than that, but very nice handling bike, very easy to ride, pretty adjustable, pretty cool bike. Just another offering they're going to have in their lineup if you want something a bit more sweepy and Euro than a typical stick bike.
All right, John, you want to?
You probably can say more than I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Brian summed it up pretty good there. I don't think it's got the performance. You know, I had some influence in designing this bike. It was planned to be the Encore Plus at one time, but things that I asked for that happened was a 50-inch wheelbase, the integrated headset, there's something else I can't. Oh, the versatility, the wide, tire clearance to make it more of a purvey bike, I think is what Adam was trying to go with that name. I don't think it has personally the performance of a CA3, but it's got a nice ride. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
All right. Thank you, John. All right, let's go to the next slide. And wow, okay. That's the rear of it, right? That's the yeah. Okay,
yep.
Let's go to the next slide. That's one of Brian's shots. Beautiful shot there. All right, so yeah, now we're gonna start looking at the trike that everybody was really talking about even before the show. This is the Bacchetta carbon trike that that made such a huge splash at the show. And let's Brian, go ahead. Let's talk about this a little bit. Everyone wants to know about it.
I was really impressed with it. I rode one of the original, I guess not real, the original carbon trikes, made in Sweden, and that's who this is a collaboration with. As you can see, it says carbon trike on it a few places in addition to Bacchetta. This is, in my opinion, much better finished, made in Taiwan instead of made in Sweden, much less expensive, $6,000, which is not cheap. Not going to pretend it's cheap, but for the components and a carbon fiber trike, that ain't bad. ICE VTX is not too far off of that. So it's a really nice trike, very well done for this being technically a production prototype. I don't know exactly what tweaks they're going to make. They listen to everybody. The color choices have not been chosen, by the way, so I don't know which one it's going to be or if it's going to be two, and they don't either. They haven't really decided. But the handling, I will say, on it is much more towards the high-speed stability side than it is towards the, nimble, maneuverable side. It's not to say that it has a horribly wide turning signal, but it's a pretty wide turning circle, not signal. And the steering feels a bit heavier than you might find on some other stuff, but it feels good. It's not, and no brake steer or anything like that. I really, really liked it. Very pretty stiff. I don't think anybody's ever going to be happy with the boom stiffness on a trike. If you're a real monster, everybody's going to complain about it. But didn't mind that at all. Seat's very comfortable, and the seat is adjustable for height. Well, the only thing that I told them I think they're going to hear about is there's no through axle on the back. It's a conventional quick release. That's one of those things that no one cared about until people started making them with through axles, and now everybody wants it. It's kind of like in 2001, nobody cared about brake steer, and then ICE came out with a trike that didn't have brake steer, and then everybody freaked out and had no trikes could have brake steer anymore. But really well done. It's a really nicely made trike. It's basically, if you've ever had the privilege to experience a carbon trike, it's just one of those, but finished better.
All right. Anybody else?
Really like
Larry, I think you wrote it. Did anybody else want to add anything that might have ridden the carbon trike from Bacchetta? Larry, unmute yourself there, buddy.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, I think you were on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I liked it. The steering felt a little stiffer than what I like, but I mean, it wasn't like horrible. But sometimes when you get on things, you start looking for things not to like rather than things you do like. So it was kind of like picky. But other than that, I liked it. I mean, it felt nice and quick, but then you expect it to. It's light, it's stiff, carbon fiber, just it looked great. And one thing that I like too, I was looking at it and I saw in the picture there, you could see where you could adjust the back of the seat and all that. And also that little trap door thing up in the front. And I started to make some sort of obscene remark as to what do you put there? But the guy I was talking to, yeah, there it is on the left. That's where you could put things like your keys, your wallet, or whatever, if you don't want to carry some god-awful heavy bag.
Whatever you want to smuggle across the border.
Something like that,
And it's easy enough to pull that, I guess, whatever the cover they have, the cushioning and stuff, you just pull the bottom of that up and it's visible
and I
there.
thought that's really a neat idea. And I thought, I hate to fixate on something as simple as, here's a little place where you can put stuff. But a lot of times you get some of these really racy trikes. That was one of the things that I didn't like about the Greenspeed Aero when I first started fooling with it. It's like, where do you put your water bottle? Where do you put this? I mean, where does the bike computer go? Where does they didn't have built-in attachments and things for what I would consider necessary. But I guess if all you wanted was a racing something, you don't worry about things like lights and computers and things. Well, so
all right,
anyway,
that's thank you for that.
And they did say the production version will have full on, light mounts and all that kind of stuff.
I did.
Right. And as I recall, I don't know if you guys, I don't think, Brian, you mentioned this. They told me something in the March, April timeframe as far as when they're going to be
somewhere
available.
around there. So knowing Taiwan, probably May.
And George Mills is on the live chat and asked about the weight. Brian, do you remember catching what?
I believe it was 28 pounds as it sat there for the regular matte carbon one. The prototypes, they put a lot of clear coat on them, and it added like another half a pound or something like that in clear coat. But and they weren't too happy about that, so that won't be the same. But they still haven't decided on the finish. I think last I heard they were leaning towards just the matte carbon, but they may do the blue also. I don't think the red's going to make it to production, but the blue one might.
Very good.
Yeah,
All right.
so
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
that's the same numbers I got too on it. It's slightly heavier than the original carbon trike, but the slightly heavier comes with a lot of improvements.
Okay. Very good. And there's
Let me add a couple. I'd have to agree with Brian on the pass-through axle being necessary. And of course, this is a prototype and they've got a ways to go yet. But out of the 3 trikes, say the Catrike 700 and the VTX that I rode in and the CT there, this was the only one that I could push it hard enough to where it would try to shift itself in the rear cogs because of the wind up in the frames. Maybe the pass-through axle would help take that out a little bit. Otherwise, the trike was a lot of fun and accelerated well. But the 700 had the best characteristics of keeping everything together back there. And I attribute that to the design of the frame and the pass-through axle.
Very good.
That's the thing on the original carbon trike. I had trouble with it every time I would do racing because it would shift on you. You know, if you pushed it real hard, it would shift on you. And I found this one was much more improved than that because they did clean up that drive line, so you couldn't torque it as much. But it still got it still shifted on me a little bit when I was pushing hard up that hill.
Yeah, the through axle is one of those things that I don't think everybody needs, but it's really nice to have. And when your competitors have it, you know, then you should probably have it too.
And maybe they will. Well, it's still time for that to happen, I suppose. All right, let's. We spent a little bit of time on that trike because there was so much talk about it, but we're going to move on now. So that's Mark Swanson, one of the chief honchos at Bacchetta, and he got into one of Doug's velos there, the Quattro Velo, and made us all think, maybe that's the next step for Bacchetta. We
started the rumor mill going.
It certainly did, and we're going to continue that just because
we're going to help him out.
You catch Swanson at the right time, you can talk him into all sorts of stuff.
Maybe that's what's necessary. All right, let's continue with some of the other booths that we saw. This is Ti-Trikes, as you see here. It's Ken, and he had a booth there showing off those titanium trikes that he has, the heavy-duty stuff, and HB Velotechnik. So it was really good to see the guys from HP at the show, always representing the company very well. Not a whole lot really new from them, but the one thing we can say is that they gave away a gecko that you see right there, one of their USA specific geckos that was won, as it turns out, by one of the dealers, Lancaster Recumbents, right?
Yeah,
I think is who
so,
won
yeah.
it. So, but anyways, that was very nice of them and generous to have given that away.
It makes our T-shirt and hat and book giveaways look kind of lame, doesn't it?
Absolutely does. And they are anyways, but that really makes more. Okay, let's move along. And Greenspeed. So always a huge booth. Ian spends the money to get carpeting. Honestly, I mean, that's special, I think. So gives you an outdoor feel even in the indoors.
Just the shipping of that carpeting.
No, I think he bought it. He told me he got it there.
I think he buys it there, and then.
But it's like $1,000, I think, just to do that. Is they do everything high class. So I had Jerome and Ian there. It was great to see them. Next.
And
let's talk about what was new there. Brian, go ahead.
So that's the GT20 RS. So it's your standard, GT20, same component spec, all the Sora and all that stuff that it had on it before, but now it's got rear suspension. So I don't know what's going on with Ian, but he always swore he'd never make a 26-inch rear wheel. Now they make a couple different ones. There was the Magnum 26 too, which the Magnum BW, I think they call it. And I didn't take any pictures of that because we've previously covered it. But now it's got this rear suspension, which looks really simple, but it actually works really, really well. As you can see, if you're a suspension nerd, the chain goes pretty darn close to the pivot, so it doesn't pogo much or anything, and it works really, really well. And that's another thing he swore he would never do. Eons ago, there was a GTO that had a rear suspension option, but he always tried to talk people out of it. But now, full-on production Greenspeed with rear suspension, and it works pretty well. And other than that, it's your basic GT20, which is a good thing. The GT20s are always fun. But this was definitely my favorite. I used to own one of the original X7s, which was the customized version of the X5. And this is every bit as good as that. It's got the square tube frame main frame they use a lot now, and adjustable seat height, folds, all that stuff. But the handling on it was just great. It's such a fun little trike. Gearing was perfect. It's got a 926 in the back, I think, and for that small rear wheel. And it was just a lot of fun. Rode well, handled well. And like I said, I kind of prefer it to the Aero. The Aero is just a bit too extreme for me. I know a lot of people really love the Aero, and I don't blame them. But it was this is right, that good seat angle and stuff that I really like. This slammed all the way down and back is right what I like in a sporty little trike. It's not a racing trike, very fun, sporty little trail trike.
Did you notice that they've moved to drum brakes on a lot of these? Instead of
that's Greenspeed's been doing that for a while. That's their thing, and so is even when we get to Ice. Ice is offering drum brakes again on some of their higher end models, and there's nothing wrong with that. Drum brakes work great.
I actually think it's a good move.
Yeah, I do.
I was going to talk about the drum brakes on the Ices as well, because as many of you know, I have the Sprint X. Well, Brian had that first, and I've been talking to him a long time about replacing my hydraulics. So we'll talk about that when we get. Yeah,
but it's they're fire and forget. They're really nice. So I really do. I like what Greenspeed's doing now.
All right.
For this lower end stuff.
And just as a reminder, guys, any of the panelists, if you, Brian is handling a lot of this, but if you have any thoughts about it, don't be shy. Just go ahead and unmute and jump in there. All right. HASE was also there. They always make a big presence, have a lot of great solid bikes, but again, nothing too new at this show that I saw. Brian, did you see anything?
No, but I will say it was really nice to see and continue to see the Trigo being so popular, because that is something that we need in the recumbent industry, is to have a good, well-priced, easily accessible Delta out there. And I'm very happy to see how well the Trigo's selling, and it's just a cool modular, changeable trike. It's just cool to see it doing so well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Next.
I like the off-road version.
Oh, the off-road version's a little pricey.
Yeah.
All right, and also once again, Easy Load ramps were there, and they demonstrated, as they always do, all the different trikes going up their ramps. It was nice to see them. Trident Trikes, the major sponsor for our video, actually always comes with all the trikes and something new. There's Tom Floor. Next slide. I think we're going to see a couple things. Actually, the major new thing that they have was actually not a trike, but it was a canopy. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, if you want to go back one real quick,
sure.
This doesn't seem like a big deal, but to me it is, because I love 24-inch wheels on trikes. And now on the stowaway, I believe this is on a stowaway, you can get the 24-inch rear wheel option, which is the perfect wheel for a trike, in my opinion. It gives you a little more gear inch, so you're not running out of gear, but it's not so much that you're having a hard time getting up hills. I love the 24-inch wheel options, and I'm very happy to see. And it's retrofittable to the old ones, so you can buy those extensions and put a 24 on your Trident. And if you have a Trident 20, I highly suggest that you do.
Very good. All right, now let's go on to that next one, and this is the canopy, and we've got a couple shots of this. It's not nearly as fancy a canopy as like Big Leaf, like Ed makes, but it looks very workable, and it comes with, I think, Brian, doesn't it come with that headrest?
Yeah, I think it does, and it was very reasonably priced. I don't remember how much it was.
Was it 160, 149? Okay.
Yeah, 149. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Right in the picture.
It's adjustable for width and stuff. He said the only hard time they're having is that it's the shipping cost is quite a bit.
Yeah, and
so
I was going to say it's not. It's really not a rain protector shield in any way. It's more for the sun, keep you out of the sun. But yeah, for what it is, I think you just can't beat that. Yeah. So, all right, next. And the Gossamer, Brian, I think that was your shot. Did you? I don't think, was there anything new about the Gossamer?
Yeah. This is they are officially going to be available like next month. The first production run's already sold out. He did a very small production run initially to gauge interest, and it sold out. So interest is apparently pretty high. But $62.99 is definitely not cheap. But I've ridden it several times. The full production one is going to be, I think, 20 millimeters or 30 millimeters narrower in track, which is something a lot of us have said that we wanted to see. But it's super light. It's lighter than even, I think, the Bacchetta carbon trike. I want to say
Correct.
it's like 26.5 pounds, 26, something like that.
He said 26.2, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous light, and the components are really nice. But as I said, not cheap, and it's going to be pretty low volume. There's not going to be a whole ton of them out there on the road. But it's a really fun, well-handling little trike. He wasn't letting anybody ride this one at the show, but I've ridden it previously.
Yeah, I asked about 5 times. I wanted to ride it.
Yeah, it's a fun trike. It's very, very easy handling, very light steering for a really sporty trike like that.
It was,
and I rode it last year too. It was a lot of fun. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And to the performer booth. So I know John spent a lot of time talking to Rob there as well. They had a couple of interesting things to talk about, notably also that that carbon trike that they have. So let's go on to the next shot here. I think we might have a couple of close-ups of. Okay, Brian, you want to jump in on the?
Yeah, I mean, I keep track on the Facebook post because I post live from the floor on Facebook and then post my full review like today when I'm putting it out a few days later. And this was one of the highest traffic posts I made of this trike because it's full carbon fiber and it's $3,700 and components are really nice. A lot of people asked to compare it. They're already comparing it to the Bacchetta carbon, saying, "Oh, Bacchetta must be." No, they're not. It's not the same. It's the only thing they haven't, and even Rob said this, that, you know, is the U.S. distributor. The only thing they have in common is that they're carbon fiber. This is much more of a sporty, you know, trail riding trike. It's not nearly as refined as the Bacchetta. It's not meant to be. And it's a great trike. And it's pretty light, not nearly as light as the Bachettas and stuff. But it handles well enough. It handles fine. But it's meant to be to get you into carbon fiber for a reasonable price. Fit and finish is very, very good. But it's not meant to be, you know, what a Ice VTX or a Bacchetta CT is or a Catrike 700 is. It's higher. Seat angles higher, but it's a very, very cool trike, and it's definitely for $3,700. It's well worth the money for sure. And Performer does an excellent job in fit and finish. It's really well made.
Good. Any other comments, guys? You good? All right, let's move on.
That rear wheel is not going to be stopped,
that's
by the way. Yeah, it's going to be a carbon fiber disc or carbon fiber aero rim with regular spokes.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next one if we could, Trey. And we were talking about canopies a little bit earlier. Oh, just before we get into Ed Miller's booth here, Jay Singer has a question. I don't know if any of us can answer this. Any news on the Trident tandem? I've seen a couple of guys that have that tandem. Anybody know? I don't remember that Tom talked about that at all.
No, it wasn't there, and I didn't ask anything about it.
All right, let's move along to the Big Leaf. Ed Miller's Ed Miller, who was the guest in our booth last year, has decided to open a nice sized booth, and he did a beautiful job with this. By the way, you can see how colorful it is. And Ed is an amazing guy, anyways, clever and makes just great products. So you can see there that he had a plexiglass cover on the front of one of those that was monogrammed with a guitar. Was it? I can't remember what it was called, but anyways, he had some specialized kind of deal with that, and talked to a ton of people there, and there they are. They just appeared just like that. Brian, what did you think about it?
I didn't spend as much time in his booth as I wanted to. He wasn't actually there when I stopped by, but they're pretty cool. I'm going to get a hold of them and try and get my hands on one. A lot of these canopy things don't really appeal to me that much personally, but this one kind of does. This one actually provides a fair amount of weather protection without going, you know, full on velomobile. and it's a pretty cool little setup. Weighs nothing.
Yeah. Trey, back up one there if you would, and we'll show the rest of these. There's some cool. He did a lot of cool marketing with this and putting interesting exhibits together. There's a picture of Ed in there. You can kind of see it. Back one more. Sorry. When he was talking to all the people that are there on the very left, you can just see right in front of the guy with the blue T-shirt. You can see Ed talking to all those people about what he did. So, yep, that's him. That's Ed Miller. Okay, let's.
And how much do they go for again?
Man, I think 300 something.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say in that
3
ballpark.
and 4, yeah.
Ed was with us a little earlier. Ed, if you're still with us, you can chime in with. He's got a range, I think, but you can chime in, and I'll relay that to everybody. So, all right, let's move along here to the next shot. Yep, you can put your boogie board, surfboard. He did a great job of
that was fun.
Yeah. Go ahead. Next. And he's got those canopies. He's made attachments for just about every kind of trike you can imagine. So, and there's one kind of a trike you can imagine, TerraTrike. They were there with another massive booth, and lots of things to show. Not too much new, although Brian, I'm sure they were talking to you. Marshall was talking to me about lots of interesting stuff coming up. They weren't willing to share.
Yeah,
with everyone
they
just
always
yet.
they kind of follow the mainstream bike industry's release times. So their stuff usually comes out like next month. So I expect like next month we're going to get peppered with a whole lot of new stuff from them.
The one thing they did show was this pink trike. Because they're doing a promotion for breast cancer awareness, I believe. So
I'm sure they will sell every one of those that they can make.
Yep, they do a great job with charities too. That's a good company. All right, let's move along. And Terracycle. So Brian, I'm sure you spent some time with him. We did as well. Pat just has every sort of gewgaw and gadget you could imagine to go on every sort of
That's a great word.
It's a gewgaw. He actually had some labeled gewgaws. Okay, yeah. So there's Ed. Ed, thanks for a little donation there, Ed. Ed just popped in there with a few bucks donation to our cause. And please, Ed, tell us about your price range, if you would, too. Anyways, Terracycle, yeah, we did a nice interview with Pat talking about all the different stuff he has. See, they got purple sky flags and every sort of attachment for cameras and fairings and just about everything you can imagine.
And a new employee too.
And Raina is the young lady there. They also a new employee. And there's a Kaz as well.
And
he has great employees.
I'm going to point out that she made those spangly shirts because she got mad at me because I said, "What is that? Just an iron-on?" And she goes, "It's a vinyl transfer, and I made them." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." It was a joking thing, but no, she seems like a really great addition to the team. Her and my wife went to the Bead Festival next door together and stuff. So
she's a nice young lady. Yeah, we had.
Yeah, she's great, and they had so much new stuff. I don't know if I know it's not in the pictures I sent you, but because I don't know if they had one at the booth. But in addition to that new winter fairing, that's what Kaz's shirt there is. They're doing suspension racks for the suspended Catrikes, which is really cool. That just attach to the seat. Yeah, and it's super easy to install.
Yeah, it's a great addition that's been needed. Yeah, he went over that, and you'll see that in the video. And the fairing, he has a new fairing attachment set up as well. I think that
that's the winter.
Doesn't
that's
use the airplane clamps and kind of really kind of refined what he was doing.
And the finer recliner headrest that we all love so much now. Now Terracycle's making them, so you'll be able to get them faster, and they look better. And
I have one from him.
And they have a bigger flag now too. The purple sky flags are available in a larger size, which you can find on the Bentrider store soon.
There you go. And Crispy Steve is retired from making those headrests, those neck rests now. So, but there's no finer people for the finer recliner than Terracycle.
Yeah, I was quite elated when they bought them.
Okay,
everybody was. So that was what we needed.
Yep. And there's Charlie from ATOC. Not too much new that I know of, but great guy to talk to. Next. and AZUB. So there was. Well, Brian talked a little bit about were those 24-inch wheels on that too, Brian, that you like so much?
Yeah, on the Trident. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the AZUB.
No, these are the 26s is what
26s. That's right.
The white one to the right is
that the one
in my living room right now, much to my wife's chagrin. But it's I brought it home. It's got the superpower steps electric system on it and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It'll go over anything. It's a Ti-Fly full suspension, and I had one of their fat trikes, actually the gray one there towards the middle. I had that last year, and it was a lot of fun. But this is much better on the road, and really, really liking it. It's a pretty cool thing. I actually kind of want to get some road tires and just ride it on the road.
Very nice. Yep. So not a whole lot of very new things from AZUB, but go to the next slide. I think we have one of Hansa there. If we could. Yep. And always a great representative of the company there. Knows what he's doing. Let's go on to the next one.
And he's much cheerier than he looks.
He never looks too cheery. All right. So I think Doug knows a little bit about this, and I'm sure Brian wants to talk a little bit too. So this year at Spezi, ZZ Merc was the name of a company from China that one of the big things that I remember they were talking about that everybody's excited about was this little tiny folding trike. And now they're back with a different name. I think Doug actually knows a little bit more about how that changed. It's the same company, TrikExplor. Maybe we'll start with Doug, if you would. Tell us a little bit about TrikExplor.
You know, they've changed their name. They've gotten a little bit more branding towards the foreign markets. They are made in mainland China. The little folding trike, which is in the middle, is a lot of fun. It's a hoot. It folds up really compact. I don't know if we got a picture of it folded up, but it's almost Brompton in its compactness. And
it's tiny.
Yeah, it is. And I actually, if I got them to let me put some strength against it, and I tried to hurt it and wasn't able to, so that's a good sign, because I can usually break them when I want to. So
it seems pretty darn sturdy, I have to say.
It's surprisingly sturdy, because I felt for sure I was going to twist something. I mean, I broke one of Lars's bikes right off day one, so I mean that's saying something. But now I actually tried to push this one hard and didn't. So I need some more time on it. I always say if unless I get a couple 100 miles on a bike, I really don't know it. So but I'm gonna have to get me one of these myself.
And now I was talking to them, and the business card I was handed says Virginia, and I talked to, and a couple of people there now live in Virginia, so it's U.S. support and everything, and they're obviously still made in China and all that, but you'll have a U.S. representative to talk to, which is great news, and I'm excited to see that. And they didn't have firm pricing yet when I talked to them, but if it's anything like these are based on the Z-Merc trikes, they were very inexpensive. So
yeah, it is Z-Merc. So it's
it is Z-Merc. Yeah.
Yeah. They just
name.
Guys, I have a question on chat that stay with this picture if you would, Trey. What is with the center headset on those trikes? Is that what that is there that we're looking at?
It's it's bearings.
Yeah, it's bearings. It's to help it fold up.
Yeah, it just makes it really smooth folding, and it's all sealed. So a lot of times if you have a folding bike, and a lot of folding bikes are on bushings and they wear out and then they get crunchy. So it's better for any folding thing to have your folding hinges on bearings than on anything else. So
okay. That was from Lost.
I'm gonna get one of these on order here shortly, and then I'm gonna beat the fire out of it and tell you how well it works.
I plan on doing the same. We'll have a race to see if we can break it. But
I don't break it first. Yeah,
I don't think we'll be able to.
No, I don't
pretty
either.
well put together.
I think so too. But the folding trike. I mean, I carry my Brompton with me everywhere, and I think I can get this one in the same box. So now I'll carry it a lot into some of the places that are more trike friendly, and we'll see how well that works.
And I liked the crazy colors they came.
Oh, I did too. I wanted that color scheme. That was cool.
I know. They say, well, this isn't production. This is just to show what we.
I know.
And I'm like, I want that one. I want the pink and green.
I want that one.
I want the Joker trike.
Yeah, exactly.
They never would have expected that. All right, Lost Junior just says not on that trike. I guess he wasn't talking about the folder. I'm not sure which headset center. Was there another center headset that we saw?
The steering. They do have a center headset also for the steering. It's on like kind of 3 headset deal. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Okay, that could be.
You may be talking about the AZUB.
Oh, it could be from a previous. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay, well, let's move along. Trey will get that. Okay, Triot. So these are Triot Trikes, and this is, I believe, their second year at Cycle-Con, making these robust trikes that are really kind of amazing. They didn't have a whole lot new, and Brian, you can chime in if you like. I know that this trike on the far left, they realize their trikes can be exceedingly expensive, and I think they wanted to come out with something that was a little bit more reachable for people. And so instead of the belt drive, they've added a chain system and a couple of more compromises. Brian, you want to?
Yeah, they put a 1x11 on it, which is fine. Like you said, they are.
There you go.
They are exceedingly expensive compared to budget trikes, but compared to other full suspension trikes, they're really in the same ballpark as your ices and stuff like that. They're really not much more. And when you see them in person, I don't know how they pull it off, because the amount of machine work and custom everything on this is just nuts. I mean, this trike has, since it's using a 1x, it has a standard shifter, but most of their trikes they make their own freaking shifters and brake levers. Like, I don't know why you put the effort into that, except they just want it to be how they want it to be. He was telling me that all the screws they have, because like if the bolt goes through aluminum, they put like helicoils in it, and his production cost is like $35 worth of helicoils for each trike, just to put all the bolts in it. And they're amazing, and you can really break them down, but it's a lot of bolts, but it's not hard. But everybody who rode them, I had a lot of people come up to my booth and just say the suspension on the thing is amazing.
They're surprisingly agile and soft. I mean, they work, and they don't look like anything else. They're very far departure from the standard trike configurations.
Yeah, but, and you can show up at a group ride. You're gonna be the only one on one.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have liked to have one out on the racing track, as rough as it was. It would have been fun to try out.
Right, but you'd have to spend the whole time out there. So let's move along, Doug. All right, so Outrider. This is one of the booths that I mentioned at the beginning as one of the ones that I found just to be surprising. Outrider, so they have a quad, as you see right there, and then 2 trikes that they brought as well. So that huge blue rectangle that you see under the seat, that's battery for the most part. These things go a long, long way. And the idea, as I understand it, and the concept was to make a trike that you didn't have to worry about people passing you as you're squeezing yourself onto the berm of a road, but in fact, go fast enough that you are part of traffic and could keep up with speed. So
that's what a velomobile's for, Gary. I mean, come on.
I've been following these guys for years.
Sorry, Trey, go ahead. What were you saying?
I said I've been following these guys from years. So this blue battery pack up underneath, this is actually pure electric. This one is no pedal at all. That's something they're developing now. It's kind of like an electric ATV, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's for hunters and disabled people.
Right. You can go to the next picture. I think, Trey, we have one of the trikes a little bit more pronounced in that next pic, if you can.
I'm looking. No, that's still the quad.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so these are modular in that it can hold in between 1 and 4 batteries. And if you have 4 batteries in there, it's 4 kilowatt hours. If you watch on YouTube, this is the gentleman that he gets one of these up to 88 miles an hour.
Yeah, that'll keep up with most traffic.
Yeah. So from talking to him, I talked to him years ago, like in 2009, when I think they came out in 2006, but we were looking for something to substitute like off-road riding that we could go a decent amount of distance. These are governed, I think, to 35 miles an hour. But everything about them is just super heavy duty. I mean, I've read in the forums and I've looked at the videos and YouTubes. They're just beating the snot out of these things, and they're just coming through smiling. So,
and there's the ice guys taking a close look, as you can see too.
And I've got a question about those. Sitting that close to that much battery, is there any sort of magnetism effect? I mean, would it trash your phones or something, or
I don't see how it would.
I don't think so. Lithium ion isn't going to do that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I just was curious about that because I thought, geez, if that's all battery,
Yeah,
I don't want to have my credit card suddenly being erased.
Well,
you gotta have alternating current to have magnetism.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it would pull the wedding rings right off your fingers. We probably don't want that. Brian, let's see. Tom Floor is actually with us. We were talking about Trident a little bit earlier and some questions. Correction, I guess, on the Gosper, we were talking about its weight. 22 pounds, not 26 pounds, says Tom. So that is the winner. I know Tom says that's the lightest trike that's out there. So that is crazy light. And Tom, if you're still there was a question about your tandem. So if you want to chime in with the status of the Trident tandem, we'll relay that information to our viewers.
And
as well.
on Outrider, one final thing too is originally when they came out, they were based on KMX trikes. That's not the case anymore. This is their own chassis.
They're building their own frame now. Did you ride one, Brian? The new one?
I had one of the old KMX based ones.
Yeah,
and,
no, I mean, the new.
It has the new power system like these do, but it was on the old KMX frame. And on the old KMX frame, I can see why they built their own because they had enough power that it was kind of scary.
Right. I was wondering if you'd ridden one of these because these are nice and stiff.
Yeah, they let me. I rode this one there too. It's infinitely improved. They told me how to unlock the ludicrous mode basically in the motor, and then I was doing burnouts in front of my house and I broke it. And I called them and told them I broke it. And like, how'd you broke it? I'm like, you told me how to unlock that motor mode, so I broke it. But it was
Bryan Ball,
but they fixed that now. So
Bryan Ball is the Outrider.
It was a $4 part. It was like a little circuit breaker that popped. But they're very cool.
Let's move along, guys. Next slide, if we could. And this is Bendit Cycling. So Curtis was there again this year, showing off the stuff. We really didn't get a chance to talk to Curtis. Brian, I know you're friends with Curtis.
Yeah,
was there anything new that they were showing at all? Or
yeah, they've got. If you go back a picture, you can see it off on the left there. So everybody's like, "Why is Bendit selling button-up shirts?" Because they look like button-up dress shirts off to the left there. But that's actually a wicking site. It is a button-up dress shirt, but it's a wicking fabric, and it has zipper side pockets and stuff, and it's awesome. He gave me one to take home, and it's pretty cool. I have to say, I'm going to use it like wearing it on stage and stuff because it looks great. But they're just really nice button-up shirts that happen to be wicking material and have zipper side pockets.
Very good. Okay, and a response from Tom Floor. The Chameleons, which is their tandem, will be available in 2 weeks. Also, the Yauta tandem in any configuration. They have the 2, 3, or 4-wheel configuration, and those are available at this time. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Thanks, Tom. And Falco e-motors. So let me just talk a little bit about this. When we talked to Rakesh, he talked, of course, about their motors that they've been supplying for quite a while for the trikes. And not a whole lot new, a little bit more refined, less, I think, a little bit more refined in terms of the controls and such. But the really interesting thing, and you can't really see it from the shot, but if you look at the trike on the left, and you can see there is a screen there in front of that. Yep. So Rakesh was able to show us on that roller system there that the eFalco motor could be used with this new software to hook up with Zwift and become a complete indoor trainer system and keep track of all of the stats necessary of your wattage and calories burned and how fast, and I think everything as far as what's showing on the track on your screen. So looked like a really nice setup as far as I can. Go ahead, Trey.
It's a smart trainer. So if those in the two-wheel world have had access to smart trainers forever, so with Zwift, it's virtual bicycle riding. So if it's the dead of winter that Brian gets stuck in every year, and you want to test ride a bike or you want to still exercise or whatever, you run Zwift or other programs. Zwift seems to be really popular these days, but the smart trainer actually mimics the hills, uphill, downhill. You know, it increases or decreases the load on the bike itself, so that you have to gear up or gear down, just like if you were riding the actual road. And I was interested in this because I've been looking for a smart trainer that would fit a 20-inch wheel, which seems to be a problem. For some reason, I can never get the same. Like we mentioned the arrows earlier, where the arrows have a really unique rear gear. So you can't find anything like that on the smart trainer. They're designed for bigger 2-wheel bikes. So I thought this was really sharp in that if you had if you had electric bike like this, then all you do is download the Zwift application and plug it in, and there's your smart trainer.
And
I admit, I feel dumb. I walked by and looked at it, and I thought they were just demoing their motor. I never even looked at it.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Brian, actually. So the other real nice thing is that it is just a regular Falco e-motor. So you can do all the trainer thing with it, of course. And then when the weather gets better, you can just take it outside and you've got your e-assist. It's the exact same system. So I think a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, it's really clever. I mean, and Falco's always had a very smooth running, very low friction motor when it's not been engaged. That was one of their things early in the days and still remains today. And the software changes that let you use the motor's regen capability as a watts producer for the virtual reality. This is the Zwift. It's really a clever thing, and it works very. If you didn't know the history, you would think it was designed from day one like this, but it just fits very well together.
Great idea. All right, let's go on to the next slide. And while you're changing it, we did. Ed Miller just chimed in on live chat. Canopy price. This is Big Leaf canopies. Canopy price varies widely. Customer selects options. $275 opens the door. Typically out the door around $600. Well over 100 canopies out there, so maybe I should get serious. Thanks for the mention. Of course, Ed, happy to do it. Okay, we are now at Catrike. And, well, guys, a couple of you have mentioned the new Catrike, the Eola. And, Brian, why don't you go ahead and start there and talk about the Eola?
Yeah, so I talked to Mark pretty extensively about it. They're still not 100% on the price, around $2,000. It's supposed to be available, I think January, I think is what they said. But the problem isn't, I thought it was maybe worried about, because a lot of bike companies are worried about tariffs and how much stuff is going to cost coming in from overseas, but they're just trying to streamline the production steps to get it down to, X number of steps, and they're getting very close to it. But man, what a great handling, fun little trike. And I know a lot of people are going to ask about it. It's only got the 1x11. It doesn't have a triple up front. Trike has to have a triple. That 1x11 is a very wide range. It works pretty darn well. And B, if you want to customize the drivetrain, yes, it is the same boom that comes on any other Catrike. So you can pay some extra money and get a boom with a triple on it if you want. I'm not sure if that triple will work well with the 1x11. You might have to change the whole drivetrain, but very, very cool, well-handling little trike. And like I said, I just was not expecting the through axle in the back, but because it's a 1x11, you kind of have to have the through axle. But very just stiff, fun. Feels like a mix between an old Catrike and a new Catrike, if that makes any sense.
And Brian, I saw on Friday quite a few of the dealers checking it out. This is big news for them, and they all were, the ones I talked to were very, very excited about this new price point that they could offer the Catrike customers.
Yeah, I think they'll come available in January, and then there's going to be a waiting list. That would be my guess, is they're not going to be able to make them fast enough. It's an awesome, awesome trike.
All right, let's roll along. Another nice view of the seat. Yep, go ahead. Next one. Yeah, keep her going there, Trey. All right, and Sunseekers, they've brought a lot of bikes and trikes, and we really didn't have a chance to talk to them. I don't know, Brian, you might have had a chance. Anything new there to talk about?
No, nothing really new. It's kind of mostly the same stuff.
Well, let's jump ahead. And next, the ice booth. So we have some things to talk about here. And the guys have already mentioned the two major things to talk about. I want to talk about the new hub braking system, but let's start with the VTX, and maybe Larry can talk a little bit more in detail about that, as well as Brian. Larry, let's go. If you want to unmute yourself, tell us what your impression was.
Okay, I think I mentioned already that I really like the previous VTX, and I had my doubts that they could do anything to improve it. But the earliest VTXs, they improved that over a period of a year or two, and they've done it again. I mean, when I wrote it, I just thought this thing feels almost perfect. I don't know what they could do to make it even better in the future. It handled great. It accelerated fast. It was comfortable. Of course, like I always advise all people when you're dealing with any kind of a trike seat, especially hard shell, try sitting on it because not all seats are going to feel comfortable with everybody. Luckily, that seat fits me perfectly. I mean, the neck rest hit me right where it's supposed to. I whipped around the little tight turns out there on that little course they had set up. You know, it just, I can't say enough good things about it, other than the fact that I wish they had brighter colors. I mean, black looks so sexy, etc., and all that. I don't care. I like a bright colored trike so that it, you know, you can see it. People driving by in cars or whatever, they're not going to say, "Well, he blended into the pavement. I couldn't see him." I like something that's really bright. Maybe like this shirt, you know. They want to make up a
Yeah,
nice
I'm sure that will
t-shirt
be
in
their
this
next
color.
color for the VTX.
I'm
there's no
sure.
doubt.
Yeah.
Brian, go ahead. Did you have a chance?
I will say, yeah, I got to ride it, and I will say one thing that doesn't show up in pictures on this, nor on the Sprint, but both the new Sprints and the new VTX have the same swept back cruciform that the Adventure came out with last year. But for some reason, it's just optically, it doesn't, especially in that picture, I assure you that cruciform is swept back, but it's just an optical illusion thing where it doesn't look it. They had to point it out to a lot of people to say, no, it is swept back. It does make it easier to get on and off the trike. And when you do that, I think they tweak the steering geometry a tiny little bit because it definitely, as Larry said, it feels even better than the old one. And like we talked about before, we're going to have those drum brake options, which is pretty cool.
Right, and I talked about a little bit at the top of the show about the drum brake. So on my Sprint X, you know, I talked to ICE about this months and months ago. Like, what would an option be of getting a drum brake? Why didn't they offer that for the Sprint? And of course, the Sprint X and the VTX, I mean, they're sporty trikes, and they didn't like the looks of the big, the regular drum Sturmey Archer drum brakes. I think that they have there on all of those. Then now this is the Tour, so I think that would be an exception.
Yeah.
But they said they were coming out with something they couldn't talk about. But if they were going to do a drum brake, it was going to be something special that looked the part. So it would be smaller, it would be sleeker looking, and still perform. And I think I haven't had a chance to check it out. And they're not available yet. I think that it's still maybe a month or two yet coming, but I think they've probably hit that right on the nose.
Yeah, and they're a world champion. Matt, last name escapes me at the moment.
Leroux.
He prefers the drum brakes. He raced the world championships on drum brakes, and that was kind of the impetus to it, where they started off on the VTX and on the Sprint X, and so and I know, like my wife, you know, I'm privileged enough that when I order a new trike for my wife, I can kind of get whatever I want, and she wanted the drums on her Adventure. A lot of people just don't want to deal with the disc brakes. The drums are perfectly adequate, and they're install them and forget about it.
That's where I'm going when it's available. So
yeah, you can see in the back the new drums on that VTX in the back of this photo there.
And then this is the new seat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what Brian. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's stick with the seat here. So now they have I think 3 different kinds of this new seat. Brian, you want to talk about what the seats are?
I just know they're different widths and things.
Yes.
The Adventure is a different one. That's why now they're marked like that. S indicates that's a Sprint seat, and the Adventure has an A and whatnot. But and then they also have, for the XLs, they have an even wider one.
And people. I was going to say, people
seat.
that we've talked to and have seen posting about the seats on the Adventure up until now that have been out for a few months just love the comfort of these seats.
And you can see in the back there, they were using them as their chairs there to sit and hang out in.
Yeah, you can just barely make that out and up there in the upper. Yeah, right there.
I told them I want one for my office chair, put it on wheels, and
it's like a little ice theater, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
So okay, let's move along, guys. And Alpaca with their racks was there. I don't think there was anything new. We didn't have a chance to talk to them, unfortunately. Next. and we will see lightning. Yeah, so Tim Brummer, who was on our actually last regular show, was right across the hall from us here from our booth, and it was good to see Tim. Brought a number of the bikes with him, the P38s, the Phantom, and then this. What's really kind of new that we haven't talked about yet was this that he's working on, and we had a chance to look it over. Bryan, you could go ahead and talk about what this is.
Yeah, so he's doing these new. This new belt drive option, which is pretty slick, I have to say. The roll-off's the only option on it. It's $6,500, and he was kind of apologetic about that, but that's not too far off what most roll-off two-wheelers are. But it's got Gates belt drives on it, as you can see. Minimalized the idlers quite a bit. That's really nice. One of the other things that we didn't talk about as much, I'll talk about more in my full coverage. You can see on the back that rear rack is welded on. This is a new option for the P38. You can get an integrated welded on rack and an underseat rack. Now, the underseat rack is not going to be available if you already have a P38. It has some extra braze-ons, so you have to send your P38 back and get it welded on and repainted, or just buy a new one. But it is going to be an option going forward on all P38s. You can opt for that underseat rear rack, which is removable, and this new very slick, lightweight, cool rear rack that is not removable. But very, very nice. I rode it. It's super quiet. Works really well. Doesn't feel too draggy or anything any more than any other roll-off does. So pretty cool option.
Yep, and not painted either, guys. So that's not what it'll look like.
Yeah, this was the prototype he rushed to get out to the show. But they are available now. You can call and order one now, and delivery time's the same as anything else.
Okay, Trey, was that you? Go ahead.
Yeah, he said he'd paint this one and ship it out if you wanted it.
Yeah.
Tim. All right, guys, let's move along if we can to the next slide, and we will be looking at. There's the
new fork.
Yeah, the new fork's nice.
We talked about those too. All right, go ahead. Next one. And the Copenhagen Wheel, they were represented there. Everybody's liking that. I don't think there's too much new to talk about the Copenhagen Wheel. You guys probably know pretty much about that. Avenue Trikes. I wish we had someone here qualified to talk about what's going on with Avenue Trikes.
What are they up to there anyway?
Oh, Peter, I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
What's up with Avenue Trikes?
Well, we've been a dealer for a long time with Recumbents at Bicycle Man, and we decided we had a lot of customers that came in looking for features that weren't available for under $2,000. A higher seat, padded seat, better handling, 24 speeds, easy to get in and out of, easy to get up hills. A lot of the beginning trike riders, they're not in good shape, and they can't climb a hill with a 8-speed or a 11-speed or something like that. So we put this trike together, and we're pretty happy with it. We opened up, we doubled our dealer network at the show, so that was good for us. And we're working on a new one, folding suspension trike, which we hope to have out. We said last year we'd have it out this year. This year we're saying we'll have it out next year. So
hopefully that'll happen.
We brought some parts to show off at the show though, so that was fun.
I think there was maybe even a shot of you holding parts with Pat. I don't know what that was. What's the next slide? If we could, there's a couple more of the Avenue. Let's go back to the slides if we could, Doug.
Yeah, it's just waiting on it to switch. There it goes.
There we go. Yeah.
So it has a swept back frame so you can get on and off easy. And it has the higher handlebars also to help you get on and off. Padded seat.
Go ahead, next slide. Yep, there's another nice view of it.
One thing about the frame with the side tubes on it is you can take the seat off, and you can adjust the seat for different rider heights or recline without tools, and you can take the seat off without tools, and then you can hang it on almost any bike rack. You hang it sideways by the side rail on a bike rack, so it fits. You buy a $75 strap-on trunk rack, and you can carry an Avenue Trike in the back of your sedan. So it's a $1,500 trike, $1,495, and you don't have to have a $500 rack to carry it. So it's a neat option.
Good thinking on that, Peter. Okay, next. Yeah, there's what I was thinking of.
Okay, this is a T-Cycle below seat rack for a linear, and we haven't yet put it on a linear, but we're looking forward to doing it, and it's going to be a neat option. We expect we'll be playing with that later this week.
Very good. Okay.
No better way to tour than a long wheelbase with a midship rack on it, I think.
Very good. Let's go on to
And
the next one.
there's no better midship rack than T-Cycle. You know,
Yeah.
everything T-Cycle makes is the best. I mean,
And of
I'm
course,
probably someone will disagree with me, but not much. They're pretty darn nice stuff.
yeah, this guy in this picture is not going to disagree with you. That's
No,
Pat
he
France.
won't.
And there were a number of seminars, both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Pat was one that gave seminars as well. So lots of interesting stuff at the Cycle-Con. So if you end up going next year, make sure you look up those seminars. You might want to take a look at them. And there was the test track as well. We didn't get tons of shots of it. And the weather was fine on Friday and Saturday, not so conducive on Sunday, but you can just from these shots here see everything from the Velomobiles that Doug had, the Outriders there in the background, just all kinds of stuff racing on there. So any comments on the test track?
The test track was nice. I like how they did the turns. I like how they headed up the little hill. The only complaints I heard were people with the Velomobiles because it wasn't long enough to open them up. So
yeah.
I heard that every time I heard somebody say, well, I started pushing on it, but then I got to the end and I had to slow down.
Well, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway wasn't available that week.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But it was a great, I mean, it was a nice setup. I mean, you know, I was really happy because it was not just a flat round test track. It had some curves and it had some hill.
Maybe you can get over to the racetrack next door next year and get some time there for the as a test track. That would be interesting. Okay, let's move along.
That's a suspension testing area is what that was.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Yeah. And speaking of which, okay, so that I think will conclude our portion of the show about the Cycle-Con itself. And then this was right next door. This is the Nashville Fairgrounds Raceway. And the opportunity to have HPV racing came up, and Chuck took advantage. They were set up, and a number of racers rode, including two of the gentlemen that we have with us. I introduced John a little bit earlier. We also have Mike Mowett with us. Mike, unmute yourself, and we'll just say hi to you real quickly, and then we're going to start talking about. There's Mike. Are you on?
Hi, everyone.
It's good to see you, Mike. And Mike was there with a couple of different things racing. So let's start going through the slides here, and then I'm going to ask you and John especially, and anyone else that wants to chime in, please do. Well, look at that. Now, whose is that?
That's my bike built by John Mersiglio, M1 low racer, carbon fiber, 25 pounds, race rocket. John was supposed to have made it to the show to show off some of his bikes, but he wasn't able to make it out from Denver. But yeah, it's definitely a fun ride.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. We're gonna, I think, first show you a bunch of different bikes that were there, and we're just going to kind of go through these. There's a Greenspeed, and there's the world champion. There's Matt Leroux on the right. The gentleman from the UK works for ICE and his VTX. So let's move along. And a Catrike. I'm just going to go through these, and guys, if you have anything to say, jump in there. Next, and there's a stick bike, Bacchetta, and a cruise bike represented. Next.
Yeah, this was that cruise bike was ridden by Daryl Hanger.
Okay, yeah, he came in pretty high on the ratings. We'll take a look at the results here towards the end. And this is Jonathan. Back up just one, if you would, Trey. I'm sorry. That was Jonathan Garcia, who rode. I think that's Rand's. What is that?
It's a F5.
F5. Thank you.
With a
yes.
coupler in the middle.
Yep, and he did real well there. And I'll mention this a little bit later towards the end of the show, but actually Jonathan is involved with a lot of fabrication and development and design of bikes, working with Rands, and I think on his own as well. And we're going to have him on the show next month. So let's move along here. And a Streamliner.
This is Tony Levan's bike from Illinois. It's a steel frame over with a coroplast body. It's a real versatile. He rides open road a lot.
Wow. Okay. Next one. And there's a guy we know. Go ahead.
World famous Tom Ollinger from Ohio with his home built Nirvana low racer. He actually lent out his faster bike, the NoCom, to Jonathan Walters, who finished second in the
We're going to
racing.
probably see that here shortly. Go
weekend.
ahead, next one. Yeah, there's a guy. He's trying to disguise himself, but yeah, that's John Schlitter right there, trying to nourish himself before the race and trying to stay warm.
It was real impressive watching Meet That Biscuit through that cover.
Next one.
And I just want to say, John says that he's getting older and slower. No, he is not getting any slower.
He's
very fast.
Away. Yeah, and there you are.
Yeah, this is my
talk about that if you would.
It's a Norris Streamliner front wheel drive. I've gone 60 miles per hour out at Battle Mountain in it. It's got one of the only working landing gears out there. Tom Ollinger helped me create a lever for after 5 years. It was fun. Most fun I've had in probably 3 or 4 years riding it was at the track. Got it up to speed.
Yeah, the landing gear is pretty cool. Okay, let's move along. I think go ahead to the next one after that. That was a nice close-up. Mike Mowett thinking about the upcoming race very seriously.
Where's my helmet?
Whoops. All right, dude. This is an important guy here.
Yep. Dennis Grelk of Iowa on another one of his home builds. Dennis just consistently gets faster and faster every year. This is a Dual 700. It's actually a steel frame. He used monocoat, I believe, in a combination of Gorilla Tape. Some people looked at the bike fiber till they went up and actually tapped on it, and they said, "Oh, wait, this is like a stretched fabric." Yeah, he was talking about next year rebuilding this out of carbon fiber. So he's fast and he's getting faster.
Yeah. I think he won it all, didn't he?
Yep. He was overall winner.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's registration. Gary Hill behind the desk there, and people walking up to get registered early on.
Oh, I want to throw in a word. Gary, our condolences.
If you would.
Yeah. Gary Hill helped put on the event with Charles Coyne. It was his idea to have a late season human powered Race America event here at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Worked out great. And our condolences to Gary, whose mother passed away this past week. She actually fell on Friday before Nashville, and Gary rushed home on Sunday because our races were canceled, and he said he had a few days with his mom, and unfortunately she passed away midweek. So condolences to Gary.
Sorry about that, Gary. Okay, let's move along then. And there we have, I think that gentleman raced as well. And I think he also won a prize at our booth. But here he's looking like he's the fans. These two guys, the fans. But go ahead.
That couple was from Montana, I believe. And they were camped out next to Tom Ollinger and Jonathan Walters. And they had two dogs with them, one of which was actually blind. And I believe it's the same couple. They came over to watch the races.
Very nice folks. Okay, let's move along. And okay. And there's Doug trying to get some velomobile racing going. Doug didn't actually end up racing through because of some technical difficulties, I think, with maybe the racing personnel. But we'll pass over on that, I guess. Doug, did you have anything you wanted to say about it?
No, it was really a choice that I made. It was either go help people ride velomobiles or race. So I decided that it was probably better to go help people ride velomobiles.
At the time, okay. And then here was the start of Mike. I don't know which one this was.
This was the stock class. Looks like the R30 lapper, or maybe John remembers. Was it 30 or 35 laps?
Yeah, I think maybe it was only 30. Yeah.
Okay. But it was cold, whatever the race was. It was cold. It was cold. All right, let's go on to the next one if we could, try.
And that's Dennis Grelk again. You could see the close up his tape. It probably isn't the most aero, but all those ripples in it. But he was.
Right. And Trey, if you want to just kind of page through these, unless the guys want to stop, they're really cool picks, but we probably don't need to spend too much time.
Yep.
Jonathan Walters on NoCom. Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, an old man.
There's John.
John Schlitter.
Yeah.
That was a matching attire between the bike and the shorts.
And that's the only young lady that
Yep.
rode.
Yeah.
Daryl Hanger's wife.
Mhm.
Yep, Andrea. Yep.
Andrea.
Yeah. And there's Jonathan Garcia.
Mm-hmm. Nicely color matched.
I don't
forgot
know.
his-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
That's
Tom
John.
Ollinger.
Tom Ollinger. Yep.
Yeah.
And this fellow here, I don't know his name, but this is what HPRA was all about. This guy came out and raced a Rans rocket, just had a blast. His
Right.
kids thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, his family was there. That is not a racing bike, but he looked like he was having a good time, and he worked real hard.
Yeah. I mean, anyone should try to get to one of these races and attend because they're a blast.
All right, next. All right, keep them going.
There's Mike suffering. That's a good picture.
Scary.
There's John suffering too. Look at him in the background there.
I'm just checking out how I'm going to get by HK, whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's just to set
He
the
only
world.
did like 61 miles per hour about a mile.
How old is that? He's like 16 or something?
16 now.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Daryl and I
also-
had a good rhythm going. We would rotate every 2 laps. So
You couldn't just let the kid win, John.
he let us lap him too many times. Sorry.
You don't have enough trophies. You have to take them from children.
Try. We always try.
It's a
These
life
two
lesson.
guys, they were flying around pretty fast. And I think they were lapping me is when I made my jump onto Mike's wheel. And I kind of unlapped his lap, and Jonathan beat me in the sprint. So
Jonathan just did the Indy Tour de Cure yesterday, 100 miles in 4 hours, 24 minutes. I was supposed to be there, but wimped out. Daryl and Andrea also rode yesterday.
uh-huh.
And there's Brian.
And me
Making
and my
an
bike
appearance.
show configuration with my backpack and
There you go. Okay, next one.
Oh, one thing I want to add is that this track made like a loud humming noise when we were riding over it with our tires. Like, especially when the streamliners went by, it was like sounded like little, motors. But maybe it was a rough surface. But
It reminded me of Texas chip seal.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get out there next year with some yard blowers and blow all that stuff off to the side.
I
But
think
there's checkered flag, the winner.
that's Rick
Winner, winner,
Wynick,
chicken dinner.
Okay,
the
next.
flag.
Yeah, speaking of next year, I guess, should we share that, Mike?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's
We're going to
just-
talk about the results here, Mike's going, but go ahead. Talk about next year.
Well, next year, Gary says we're not going to be back. So the track is getting too bad of condition and it's too torn up. It's not going to get any better. So that venue there is not going to happen.
Okay. So that's interesting to hear. All right, well, let's go back and talk about this year, though. So, Matt, you want to briefly? We got a few slides here to talk about. You want to just highlight the winners and that and such?
Mike, can you
Oh.
explain how that thing scores? I don't understand.
I couldn't
Yeah.
exactly figure it out. Maybe.
Yeah, you get points for each race, and then they add them up in the right hand column. But Andrea obviously got like 2 first places, both were 60 points, 20 total. Same thing with Ishte. Gary was very generous with his prize money. He gave out like $100 cash prizes for first place. And then we, I don't know if you want to go to the next.
Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Let's just highlight this and move on.
Yeah. One thing I'm concerned or confused, John, I don't know how you beat me in this race.
Yeah, I know.
That's good.
You were a lap ahead of me until I unlapped a little bit, but it wasn't a whole lap. So
Yeah.
at least.
I think it's a case where the timing system shut down and I ended up riding, I don't know, extra or missed a lap somewhere, but that's racing for you. I know Jonathan didn't get his prize money at the end because his points weren't counted in or something. But
there's nobody
anyways.
reviewing the tapes on this stuff, is there?
Well,
I mean, it just is.
it is
No.
Gary's race, so
Yeah.
that's why it works.
All right, let's go on to the next one. I think there's just one more to talk about as far as that goes, and the 10-lap race. And there you go. That's the trike race with world champion Matt LaRue.
He was
Yeah,
very fast.
I don't understand how that one worked out that way either, because Daryl and I were second and third, but that's
Not the way it was printed up anyways, John. So unfortunately.
And I ended up second in the trike races somehow, which was correct, but
Oh, well.
I don't know.
All right, let's we're getting close to the end here.
That's it.
That's it. All right, guys. So thanks so much for sharing the racing stuff with us. It was wonderful. It's a shame it won't be able to do that next year at that venue anyways, but maybe they'll be able to work something out. So any last questions or comments on what we've done here so far, guys? It's been a long show, of course, but that was really fun. Thank you guys so much for sharing your views on the Cycle-Con show and the racing. Really so much fun to attend and to share with all you folks watching the video. So let's move along now to our sponsors and talk about who brought you this program today. So it's Terracycle. Check out their new website and their finer recliner headrests that we just talked about, and Trailside.bike. If you find yourself in Florida near the Withlacoochee Trail, stop in to see Andrew and his crew there. And Velocity, builders of performance wheels and rims, and they are handmade in the USA. All right, guys, I want to talk to you just briefly about some boilerplate stuff. If you go to any of our videos on YouTube, you are going to see in the description below the video all kinds of stuff, including our table of contents and our Doug, you want to hit that slide for me so they can see that a little bit better. Table of contents and the links that we talked about. So including this show, we're going to break it down into all the different sections and put that table of contents in there so you can jump around between them, see just the stuff you want. And anything that we talked about or any of our panelists talked about, we're going to put a link to that right there so you can just click on it and go. So please take advantage of that for each of our videos. The next Laidback Bike Report, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I blew the surprise. The next slide, if we could, it's Jonathan Garcia of Rose City Recumbent Cycles in Portland. And Jonathan, as I mentioned, is going to have a lot of his creations, his designs, and that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about bike design a little bit, both racing and stock. And he's got a lot of interesting things to say. I think he's one of the up-and-coming designers that's out there. Very nice gentleman. Jonathan Garcia is going to be on our next show. All right. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our video coming up. We just did a review of the show. As I said earlier, we took lots and lots of video. Trey and I were out there on the floors interviewing so many people. The Recumbent Cycle-Con 2018 coverage video is going to be out as soon as I can finish editing it another week or so. Hopefully, I'll be able to get that out. All those interviews, lots of walkarounds of all the bikes that we talked about today, close-ups and that sort of thing. So look for that. Like I said, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll get a notification when we do get that up and rolling. I had a visit at Cycle-Con from this gentleman right here. It's Dennis Wells, a good friend of the show, always comes to Cycle-Con, talks to us. And he had a really interesting suggestion about mentioning a few items some of our viewers participate in with pictures. So if you are out there and you're doing a particular ride or you're in a particular spot that you think of that is of interest and you have pictures of it, if you'll submit them to us at laidbackbikereport@gmail.com, we're gonna give you a little shout out at the end of the show. We'll just mention what it is. You can promote that, or just want to talk about something you've done. We'll give you a little shout out. And we did this specifically for Dennis. One of the things he participates in is well, let me tell you what he said. You want to put that slide up? There we go. I think there's two of them for him. So Dennis says, I ride my trike in a military veterans parade every August in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I've tried in the past to encourage more ex-military bent riders to join me without success. I love the chance to talk to folks along the route and shake their hands. So if you are a bent riding veteran living close to Dennis, I'm going to encourage you to contact him, and we'll have his link down below in the description, and maybe be part of his event next year. So look for that. And Dennis, thanks for sharing that with us and for the nice suggestion. We're going to try to do these each month if we can. All right, let's wrap it up with some thank yous. First of all, as always, to Bryan Ball and Bent Rider. Bryan always does a great job of promoting this show, and we really appreciate it, Bryan. Thanks again.
Welcome as always. This is always one of my favorite shows of the year. So
yeah, I know it sure is, and we appreciate all your contributions on that. And all of our panelists today, we thank you all so much for all of your contributions. You guys really made this show special with your thoughts and ideas about what you saw at the show. So thank you all very much. Again, if you'll click on the little subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Laidback Bike Report Facebook page, that will help us out. And check out our website, www.laidbackbikereport.com, where you can find all kinds of information out. You can click on that little eye in the upper right-hand corner again, and that will take you directly there. You won't have to type those that URL in there. And while you're at the website, here's what you can see. If you can show that next slide, you're going to be able to check out all the sponsors that help us out at the top of the page there. You're going to be able to see our most recent shows, our upcoming shows, our past shows. We put bonus material, all the pictures that you saw today during the show. We're going to have that up. You guys can take your time and peruse those and look a little closer if you like. And you can sign up for our subscriber mailing list on the site as well. And of course, you can always buy a hat. There's our hat model, Larry Varney. $20 and $5 shipping and handling will help to support this show and all we do. So we appreciate if you would do that. And you can find it all at laidbackbikereport.com. So folks, thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed putting it out there for you. So from all of us here at the Laidback Biker Show, so long, bent riders.
Yeah.